Hey guys, it's Jen. So you've all heard by now about the report that came out showing, again, that they had a report out either earlier this year or last year, I can't remember. But now there's a new report saying that Russia took over the election, destroyed Hillary by sending out these memes on the internet, on Facebook and Google. Obviously, that's not good. I think they did do that. I think they do that, have done that since the dawn of the internet, and especially since the dawn of social media. And I think we probably do the same thing in their country too. The point is, it is bad. The other point is, as far as we know, the Russians spent $100,000 on Facebook ads and $4,700 on Google ads. That's what's been reported. So, and then they've also released the memes that have been shown, and they're are very weird memes, some of them. A lot of them have absolutely nothing to do with Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, and a lot of the ads were taken out after the campaign ended. But the truth doesn't seem to matter to these guys. So what they did, let me pull up my info here. So there was a report commissioned by the Senate committee, and they just released the details of this report. And that's what everyone's been talking about for the past few days. And the company that they hired to do this is a relatively new company called New Knowledge Cybersecurity. So let me read you a little bit. The bombshell report was in the New York Times, so I'll read you a snippet of that relates to New Knowledge Cybersecurity, so you can learn a bit about who these guys are and what they've released to the Senate and now to the public. And then I'll go into some details about who they really are. So let's talk about this report from the New York Times. The report adds new details to the portrait that has emerged over the last 2 years of the energy and imagination of the Russian effort to sway American opinion and divide the country, which the authors said continues to this day, the authors of the report. Active and ongoing interference operations remain on several platforms, says the report, produced by New Knowledge, a cybersecurity company based in Austin, Texas, along with researchers at Columbia University and Canfield Research LLC. One continuing Russian campaign, for instance, seeks to influence opinion on Syria by promoting Bashar al-Assad, the Syrian president, and a Russian ally in the brutal conflict there. The New Knowledge report is one of two commissioned by the Senate committee on a bipartisan basis. They are based largely on data about the Russian operations provided to the Senate by Facebook, Twitter, and the other companies whose platforms were used. So that's what's been reported. That's what's in the New York Times. So let's talk about what New Knowledge does. Again, they were formed in 2015. They say their tech analyzes conversations across multiple platforms on social media and otherwise, looking for signs that it's being tampered with, identifies who's doing the tampering and what kind of messaging they're sending out. So they actually said, and this is from a TechCrunch article where they gave information about their company. They said, whereas Facebook is thinking about billions of users, we're focused on tens of thousands of users. So I thought that was interesting. And they say it's still a meaningful number. Who knows? And what further distinguishes New Knowledge is that its founders are AI and Homeland Security experts who grew up in the NSA. So let's get into more details. The founder of New Knowledge, the founder and CEO, is named Jonathan Morgan. And he also runs Data for Democracy, which I haven't dug into as much, but I believe it's an open source platform and that they are targeting the right. And from what I've read, it might be the alt-right. So these people are definitely left-leaning and not fans of Donald Trump in any case. They certainly don't seem to not have a bias. They definitely do seem biased. Obviously, their data shouldn't be biased, but who knows if it is. And you can make up your own mind. I'm not going to tell you that they are definitely biased or that they're definitely interpreting data a certain way or that they don't have enough of a sample size or whatever, because I don't know that. I suspect that, but you can make your own choice. So Jonathan, Mr. Morgan, served as an advisor to the White House and State Department, and he co-authored the ISIS Twitter census for the Brookings Institution. And I talked a little bit about the Brookings Institution in another video that I did on the Center for American Progress. And depending on who you ask, they're either center, liberal. Now people seem to think they're more liberal. But they definitely, as all these think tanks are, they definitely have a bias. And he's also developed new technology with DARPA. So DARPA is the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, which is an agency of the United States Department of Defense, responsible for the development of emerging technologies for use by the military. So that's his background: State Department, DARPA, and he's presented at NATO's Center of Excellence for Defense Against Terrorism, the United States Institute for Peace, and the African Union. And when he was at the State Department, his role was developing counterterrorism strategies and understanding what public discourse looks at online. So this is definitely in the vein of what he's been doing. Why this relatively new company was hired for such an important role probably does have something to do with his connections, that he worked at the State Department, that he had his hands in different government projects and things like that. He's, even though this company's new, these people aren't new to this world. And there are some Clinton connections, of course, which I'll get to. And the COO co-founder is Ryan Fox. Now, Ryan spent 15 years at the NSA and helped develop next generation Signet solutions and to support national security interests. Prior to his civilian roles as a counterterrorism fellow and NSA representative European Signet charters, he served under the U.S. Joint Special Operation Command as a CNO analyst for the U.S. Army. And I apologize if I'm talking fast. I'm trying to get this to Jordan in time so he can do it on his live stream today. So Signet, if you're not familiar, is intelligence derived from electronic signals and systems used by foreign targets. Provides information about foreign adversaries and all that. So that fits right in with what these guys are doing, what their area of expertise is and where their influence comes in, their connections, things like that. Might give us some insight as to why they were hired by the Senate. The director of research for New Knowledge is Renee DeResta, and she has a decade of experience in technological marketing and business capacities. She's also been an advisor to the State Department, Congress, and other state and federal government institutions. And so her main role was concerned with the spread of disinformation and propaganda. It was kind of interesting as I was looking for potential other connections other than her being an advisor to the State Department and Congress. She's actually working for a company called Presidential Leadership Scholars. And this is from her LinkedIn page. She's been there for 2 years. So the Presidential Leadership Scholars Program is a partnership among the presidential centers of George W. Bush, William J. Clinton, good old Bill, George H.W. Bush, and Lyndon B. Johnson. So this is designed, it says, for mid-career leaders from diverse backgrounds who share a commitment to helping solve society's greatest challenges. So that's interesting. I mean, obviously that seems bipartisan: George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, Lyndon Johnson. But in the end, these people, there aren't two sides. There's not Democrats or Republicans. There's one side. Bill Clinton is a Republican, essentially. So it's interesting that she has that connection as well. So these aren't new people who started this company because they were so passionate about Russian disinformation campaigns. These are people who were already deeply embedded with the government, who formed this new firm in 2015 and have now been given the task of telling us that our democracy has been taken over by Russia based on internet memes, and end of story. That Donald Trump stole the election, Russia stole it for him, and that Hillary Clinton was cheated because they're tweeting out memes of Jesus and masturbation. And I'm not kidding on that one. We can share that tweet with you. Chris Hayes actually tweeted it, which was just quite funny. I don't think they're stealing elections with Jesus masturbation memes. So let's talk a little bit about their funding. They've gotten $1.9 million in seed funding from Moonshot Capital, with participation from Haystack, GGV Capital, Geekdom Fund, Capital Factory, and Spitfire Ventures. They've also received $11 million in a Series A funding round led by GGV Capital with participation from Lux Capital. And I'll get into Lux more because that's another very interesting piece that I want to do more research on. So Lux Capital is, as I said, one of the venture partners, or was part of the venture round. And actually, former CIA Director James Woolsey, who worked under Bill Clinton, or, he was the CIA director in the Bill Clinton era. So he joined Lux Capital in 2011 as a venture partner. And he's also a key figure in the Mueller probe. Woolsey has also, interestingly enough, served on the board of Flynn's lobbying firm, Flynn Intel Group. And so the story behind this apparently is that Woolsey, as part of the Mueller probe stuff, he walked into a meeting with Flynn and he was very uncomfortable. Yeah, here it is. Federal investigators working for special counsel Robert Mueller have interviewed former CIA Director James Woolsey about allegations that Mike Flynn discussed potentially illegal removal of a Turkish clerk from the U.S. So he kind of sounded the alarm and said, this doesn't sound right. He was also a volunteer advisor to Donald Trump's campaign. So he has a relationship with the Clintons, obviously. He's also had his hand in the Trump presidency and pre-Trump presidency. But it seems like whatever happened with Flynn kind of turned him away from that. So he's talked to Mueller and his team, and he's also part of this Lux Capital, which gave a lot of money. He's a venture partner, so that's part of his money. He gave a lot of money to this New Knowledge cybersecurity firm to conduct this report. So I find those connections very interesting. It's not a small thing that he was Bill Clinton's head of the CIA. So I don't have any answers other than this all seems weird. It's, again, weird that it's a new firm. It's weird that they have all these connections with the State Department and with the NSA and the White House and DARPA and NATO and everything like that. So I don't know. Maybe you can look into it too. I'm going to keep digging and see what's really going on with this Russian meme takeover, and if this cybersecurity firm is legit or if they may have ulterior motives. Bye-bye.